Is Ripple Labs going to leave the United States for a more crypto-friendly Europe? Well, Gary Gensler and the regulators in the States here aren't helping us out at all with that. Speaking of Gary Gensler, he is going full-on assault on crypto, saying everything out there except for Bitcoin is a security. And his justifications for what he calls a security, wait until I share those with you. And Solana is still down. Is that having an effect on the price? Oh yeah, and I wanted to share with you, I am 13 hours deep into a 36-hour fast. Details linked down below at the end of this video how you can follow my fasting journey. If you're into fasting, whether it's intermittent or long-term, seriously, check out the details I'll have linked down below. I'm doing a whole bunch of shorts and feature videos on my 36-hour fast. Bitcoin sitting at 23,432, ETH 1639, a little bit more action. XRP, friend of the show, sitting at 37.3, and XLM sitting at 8.7, down 0.4% in the last 24 hours. Reports indicate that USDT is being used in Venezuela to facilitate settlements and avoid sanctions. That's right, when governments all around the world want to overreach, well, we can use crypto to get around those overreaches. Companies are reportedly using USDT to avoid being hurt by sanctions in Venezuela. While the use of dollar-pegged stablecoins like Tether's USDT in countries like Venezuela is mainly related to inflation and devaluation, a second use case has also been discovered. Reports from local analysts state that a handful of companies are using USDT as a payment for foreign customers and providers, which are afraid of using traditional payment means due to the risk of receiving sanctions. That's right. The citizens out there, same thing with the citizens of Russia, feel the sanctions because of what their governments do. So should we really be penalizing people? No, of course not. Penalize the governments directly, not the people to put pressure on the governments. That's why I have no problem with people using crypto to avoid sanctions, because you know what? A lot of these sanctions out there don't affect the government officials. It only affects the common people, because the government officials, remember, they got bags, they got money, so they can get through sanctions, they can work through money issues, right? But the common public cannot. So when I see articles like this for people using crypto in order to avoid sanctions, I'm giving you a golf clap. According to Juan Blanco, there are things that are being produced in Venezuela with great value that are traded in USDT. The little that is exported due to the issue of the blockade leaves the country through free and independent mechanism provided by blockchain to pay for goods and services. Solana freeze continues as validators attempt a second restart. The Solana network faced a significant slowdown in block production after a planned upgrade, adversely impacting transactions and forcing the validators to downgrade to a previous version to restore software performance. The network freeze continued over the weekend as validators were preparing for a second restart of the network. The incident, which took place on the 25th of February, resulted in significant disruption in transactions. As a result, validators scrambled to downgrade the validator software in an attempt to restore performance on the network. And here's the latest tweet from Solana. The root cause of the outage is still unknown and under active investigation. The following document will be updated as new information becomes available. And if you want to follow this story and more, you can follow me on Twitter. That will also be linked in the description below. Let's take a look at Solana. Okay, so this happened on the 25th, and that's this candlestick right here. So obviously nothing happened. The nasty price action happened before with CPE data, right? So it's like, okay, not a big deal with the Solana outage. So realistically, no, price is not being affected right now by the outage. All right, I've cleaned up the Solana chart to show you the impact. Here you can see, right, we had the action, but now look, since rebounded and has actually clawed its way back from where it was before the actual outage happened. So Solana price action not being affected by the outage as of yet. Ripple executive claims Europe's regulatory framework is leaving America behind. Yep, that's the feature story. Is Ripple going to be leaving the United States? Wait until you hear what I have to bring up from Gary Gensler. This might give you every bit of information you need to know that long term, Ripple's plans aren't going to be in the US, it's going to be outside of the US. And will they be taking XRP with them? However, according to Susan Friedman, an international policy counsel at the controversial blockchain currency firm Ripple, the current regulatory in the landscape of the United States is fragmented, with state-level guidelines and federal financial protections geared towards traditional finance. It's very true. In fact, NEXO even said, hey, look, we were working with the feds, right, the SEC and CFTC. We're working with them, and we're like, all right, we're making some progress. Then out of nowhere, you know what happened? State regulators, California came in and was like, yo, NEXO, we don't like what you're doing. NEXO's sitting there going, whoa, 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 whoa. We're working with the feds, and the feds are like, yeah, you're making some progress. Then the state over here is like, no, you're not. NEXO was like, yo, we're leaving the United States. We can't keep up with this. And the reason NEXO said they were leaving the United States had to do with federal and state regulators not even being on the same page. You are now hearing this from the Ripple International Policy Council saying the exact same thing. Fragmented federal and state level guidance. Friedman has also noted that Europe is creating a complete and all-encompassing rules and regs for the cryptocurrency sector, and she believes that it will become an obvious destination for responsible participants. The Ripple executive argues that Europe's regulatory advantage in the crypto industry is likely to make the region a magnet for responsible crypto participants. So again, people leaving the United States because of Gary Gensler and the SEC, and now we have Ripple Counsel out there saying the same thing, going, hey, you know what? The US is really not doing the right thing for crypto expansion. While the US grapples with a haphazard regulatory landscape and legal challenges, Europe is crafting a comprehensive regulatory framework that can make it a hub for digital asset firms. The markets in crypto, MiCA regulation, is one such framework, laying down strict rules for stablecoins, creating investor safeguards, capital requirements, and corporate governance rules for the broader crypto market and crypto specific. In the United States, what we're doing is we're using Securities Act 1933, 1934 action and trying to apply that to crypto. Now, recently, Dapper Labs just got rocked. Why? Because a judge said, hey, emojis and NFTs together, that's securities as well. That's how messed up it is. In the United States, we're using emojis to declare things as securities. All right, so what is Gary Gensler doing that's making Ripple's counsel say what they are publicly, making a lot of us out there think, all right, cool. Ripple Labs will make it, but they're probably going to make it and leave the United States. Gary Gensler, everything but Bitcoin can be accountable under the SEC jurisdiction. I love the CFTC, former CFTC chair and current head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, told New York, you're not going to get me to say anything negative about it. However, Gary Gensler believes the SEC has all the legal resources to supervise the sector. The U.S. SEC is cracking down on Web3 companies by enforcing stringent regulations. Nevertheless, enforcement happens even though Congress still needs to pass crypto regs. And that's my whole point. See, in Europe, right, they're talking about MiCA having specific things for crypto. Here, you've got the SEC using laws that are almost 100 years old to regulate crypto. Congress isn't going fast enough in the United States, right? The council at Ripple is like, yeah, we're running into some problems here because state's not doing the same thing as federal. No one's talking to each other. This is a complete mess. According to Gensler, the roadway or runway for cryptocurrencies companies unlisted with the SEC is getting shorter. Basically, you register for us and you become compliant. If you can't, you're gone. Oh, and if that didn't bug you enough this Monday morning, Gensler also argues that the structure of the upcoming crypto business makes it tricky to regulate them in the U.S. jurisdiction. Yeah, because you need new laws, you frickin' moron. He noted everything other than Bitcoin, you can find a website. You can find a group of entrepreneurs. They might set up legal entities in a tax haven offshore. They might have a foundation. They might lawyer it up to try to arbitrage and make it hard jurisdictionally and so forth. But they have something centralized. And that's one of the big things. Gary Gensler is using centralization as one of his big prongs of going after crypto, saying, hey, Ripple Labs, right? XRP. We know who the CEO is, CFO, and so forth. We don't know that who for Bitcoin. So that's where Gary Gensler is coming up to, hey, Bitcoin is the only thing that is not a security. Gensler has also claimed in the past that Bitcoin is the only crypto that can be tagged as a commodity, an argument that CFTC's Rostin Benham has accepted to establish the agency's jurisdiction over the virtual assets. So you have the Solana outage right now happening for its third consecutive day, but nothing negative seems to be happening right now with the price directly associated with that. Venezuela is using crypto to avoid sanctions from countries like the United States that are all about overreach. Get the theme, everyone? I have no problem with vendors, merchants, people using USDT, crypto, and period to get around sanctions from governments. I like to think that the people in Russia right now should not be blamed for what their leaders are doing. Yet, the people in Russia suffer heavily with those sanctions. It was the same thing with the people in Cuba. The United States had nasty, nasty sanctions on Cuba, and look what happened to the people there. The people suffered, not so much their government, because the government milked the people to get by. Come on, everyone. Overreach from the United States is all over the place. And Ripple's legal counsel is out there saying, hey, you know what? Europe is doing it right. Specific crypto regulatory framework. And the United States is making stuff up as they go along. And in fact, making stuff up is giving them too much credit. They're using an old, outdated law, right? Securities Act 1933. They're using that. And they're trying to morph that to fit now. Europe is out there going, no, we need to make specific regs for stable coins, cryptos, how much money you're holding, all this. The US is just using old, outdated junk and just trying to apply it. In fact, how much sense does it make that Gary Gensler is regulating crypto without actually having any crypto laws to use as regulation? That makes no sense, doesn't it? Frustrating stuff here in the United States. Ripple Labs will be fine, XRP will be fine, but most likely, well, they will be, as Gary Gensler said, either the runway or the roadway. And the roadway is where I think a lot of these companies are going to be going because they cannot meet the burdens of the US SEC. Now, like I said earlier, I'm doing a 36-hour fast and I am 13 hours deep into it. If you want to follow that journey, that's this channel right here. If you want more crypto and Web3 action, that's this video right here. Until more news breaks, I'm going to work out a couple times today and get through the rest of this 36-hour fast. You cool cats, though, have a great rest of your day.